TMI. Confessionals of the Nerd Kind.
Indeed. I do want to give a shout out. Are we in? Are we in? Because
we are in.
Oh,
Yes.
we are in. All right. Well, if that's the case, then I want to give a shout out to that fat meteorological rodent that gave us 6 more weeks of winter. F you, punks and Donnie Phil.
I never really understood the whole science behind that.
There is no science behind it.
But no, the criteria is if he sees his shadow, we get 6 more weeks.
Correct. That is exactly.
But that would mean the sun is out if he sees his shadow.
That makes no. Well, you're right. In that regard, it makes no sense because it's not like he's actually telling you he saw a shadow.
Right.
Some fat man in a top hat is basically.
And are they positioning him in like 50 different places until they see a shadow? And
you're like a sundial, like a groundhog sundial.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I can't see a shadow. No, he didn't see it.
You didn't put him there. You didn't put him over there.
Yeah. You do remember a couple years ago, I actually got to meet Phil.
Yes, I do remember.
And his lovely wife, Phyllis, who take up residence at the Punxsutawney Library.
Did he sound like Buddy Hackett? I really hope he did.
That would have been fantastic. He was in the glass, so I couldn't really hear him. All I could hear was, and then he says something about not driving angry. I don't know. So anyways, yeah.
No, he was actually all ready for the highest bidder to dish about Bill Murray, I'm sure.
He's about the only one who probably hasn't spilled the beans on Bill Murray. So what are we talking about? We are 2 weeks into February here already. We're right in between Groundhog Day, as we just mentioned, and Valentine's Day.
We're getting the Valentine's Day present. A little bit of foreshadowing for next week. We're going back to the MCU for Valentine's Day.
This is very exciting. I will tell you, they just dropped a new teaser trailer, and I wish they didn't. Stop giving me all these. I'm already in. Stop telling me things about this damn movie.
A plot point that I was unaware of was revealed in the audio. And I didn't even watch it. I was just listening. And
Yep, I know, right? Which is fine. It whets my appetite a little bit, but I would rather just go in blind.
Yeah.
We all know
see that. Did you see the Red Hulk popcorn bucket?
Yes, I shared images on our Instagram account. Angry Red Hulk can be yours as a pseudo popcorn. These things can't even hold more than like 5 kernels of popcorn.
No, and you can't reuse them. It's not like you can bring them back and tell Regal to fill it up. Can't.
Do you think those things are like dishwasher safe?
Probably. Right?
You throw it in the dishwasher and it comes out and it's just Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
like he's already changed. He's changed back. Or it's like a Mogwai. He gets wet and all of a sudden there's like 12 of them.
We are here to talk Dogman this week.
Dogman. Oh, yes, this is a children's movie. And my movie theater was filled with children, which is if you're going to see a movie like this is how you want to see it with its core audience. You want to see how they're reacting
for how successful it is.
Yeah. And it also makes me very aware of the fact that I am an old man. This movie's exhausting. You
know what's even more exhausting is the little short that they show for the bad guys.
Well, that should have actually tipped me off that this was going to be hyperkinetic, because I've never seen either one of those bad guy movies, but they're cool. They're nicely designed characters. So DreamWorks has definitely taken a page from Pixar and started giving us these little shorts up front, which are just teasing their other movie franchises. They're bad guys who are trying to go good. And the whole
stereotypical, bad animals like the wolf, the snake, all the animals that get a bad rap. The shark,
piranha.
They're do-gooders now in the parlance of Dogman.
And but this little short, they're just trying to get to their parole officer.
Yes, so it plays.
Kids know what a parole officer is,
and it's so frenetic, and it's just so choppily and energetically cut together that it feels like it's a trailer for another
Yeah, I was curious
bad guys.
This was part of the second movie or whatever, but no, this is just like a little short. We do get a piranha peeing himself joke. Yeah, again, this should have tipped me off right from the beginning that what I was about to step into with this dogman world is it's much.
Yeah. It's serviceable, but it's forgettable. This bad guys thing. So
I
all
enjoyed
right.
it.
I'll clean my hands of this, and now let's get into Dogman.
Wait, do you want to? I have one little news item.
Oh,
only
news,
because
news.
Yeah, I know it's been a while, right? We're getting rusty here. We have a format that we never follow. So since we're talking DreamWorks, I just wanted to mention that the animation, the Annie Awards, came out the other day, and the Wild Robot walked away with 9 wins. And we had covered the Wild Robot back in episode 326, but this thing cleaned up. I think it was nominated for 10, and it won 9, including Best Feature, Best FX, Best Character, animation, and interestingly enough, Best Voice Acting for Lupito Nyong'o.
Wow!
But the kid, the Kit Connor is the actor who played the little duck, Bright Bill. He was also nominated, but Lupito won. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also saw that Arcane, which is a animated TV series, like cleaned up. It won like all 7 categories that it was nominated for in the TV and media category, which I thought was interesting. Best character animation for live action, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes beat out
Kingdom
Godzilla.
of the Conquest of the Beneath of the
It also won for most convoluted title using the word of. So, but it beat out Gladiator 2, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, House of Dragon Season 2, and this new movie, Better Man, where he's like a chimp ape thing.
Yeah, the most unappealing movie I think I have ever seen a trailer for.
It's very off-putting. I don't know. So I've heard good things about it, but not enough. So anyway, kudos to the Wild Robot. I think
that's showing up all over the place now on streaming. I believe it is now for no extra charge on Peacock. Any of you Peacock subscribers out there?
I might have to backtrack and go watch it again. So Dogman, and then in our infinite wisdom, we thought we would counter program this on the back end. If anybody's not familiar with the format of the show that I just mentioned, we do a new feature, and then we pick something, and then we pick something old. Usually there's thematically, we try to tie them together. In this regard, we went 1983, Stephen King's Cujo.
2 dogs. You see that?
Dude,
you see what we did there?
Two puppet dogs. Yes.
And only one movie features a severed head, and you wouldn't believe which one it is.
That's a one's super cute, the other one's super rabid. Oh boy. So Cujo, which I have not watched in a very long time.
I don't think I have since the video era. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, we'll get there. So let's go, Dogman. I needed a break. Oof, it was a lot. It's only an hour and a half. And as you mentioned, it is the opening 20 minutes is so mentally exhausting. That's the only word I can use to describe it. It's got to be just the attention span of these kids nowadays.
That's what it felt like to me, that it wasn't really a cohesive start to finish movie. It was just all these various little vignettes being thrown at you. And my son was a big fan of these books.
Okay.
I didn't read them myself because they were more visual. They were animated.
They're graphic novels, yeah.
13 books altogether in the series as of now. So I'm not sure, if it's based on like a whole swath of stories or not. But
no, it does feel like they took 10 different books and mushed them all together into one movie. So Dave Pilkey is the creator and illustrator and writer of Captain Underpants. I also mentioned last episode he'd had a series of books that we used to read, my kids, called Dragon. But this Dogman came out of Captain Underpants because there's two kids, George and Harold, and this is their comic book. So that the one thing that's missing from this book, and maybe or this movie, which makes sense, is they just negated the idea that these two kids created this world because it's wacky.
I believe they have a cameo, if I'm not mistaken. There's a scene where you see two kids sitting on a bench overlooking like all the trauma that's going on in the city. Looks like George and Harold.
Oh, okay. Were they witness to my trauma?
No, they were looking the other way, actually.
They were not even, they were ignoring my trauma.
They were ignoring your trauma.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the Captain Underpants movie. I do have to say right up front that is a much more successful Dave Pilkey adaptation than this one is.
And I think Captain Underpants had more potty humor in it.
Of course, it's Captain Underpants.
Underpants. Yeah. I'm not saying that this is bad by any means. I'm not the target audience. And as we mentioned, my theater was packed. My theater had a group of about 20, mostly boys, all probably within the 8 to 10-year-old range, which I think is probably target audience.
Yeah.
Exact. Yeah.
The kids in my audience actually skewed a little younger than that.
Okay.
Like usually 5 or 6 would be the average age. Yeah.
Okay. And they, for the most part, were into it. Thunderous applause at the end of the movie. And maybe that was just the parents being happy that it was over.
And I do have to note there is no post-credit scene, so no need for us to sit around.
I had to pee something fierce. I got up and ran out. I'm like, I sat there most of the credits, and there were a few staunch viewers still standing there waiting. And I'm like, oh, well, Jim will tell me if there was an end credit.
There was not.
Okay, that's good.
We were talking over the past few episodes on how funny the trailer was, mainly because of that one joke of the chief crumpling up paper at his desk and throwing it away, and then
because he's a dog,
man fetching it over and over and over again. Like if you lean into the dog jokes a little bit more, and they didn't even lean into cat jokes. And you've got the dog as your hero, the evil cat as your villain. Not so much Dogman, but they're humanized. They're not. It's not really Petey the cat is just like a villain. It's not like he's stopping to cough up a hairball or anything else that you might. No, we didn't get it. We
didn't get a single hairball joke.
No,
they think about it. But there were jokes because the Petey the cat, the world's most evilest cat, was coming up with all these crazy machines to try and thwart Dogman. And one of them was like the squirrel bomb cannon or whatever. There was all kinds of wacky stuff going on. But it's really, there's a lot of pathos going on here because Dogman, first of all, we open up with the dog and his owner, Officer Knight, and they're chasing Petey. And they get into a horrific explosion where the dog's body is destroyed and the human's head is destroyed. And these two nurses decide the only way to save them is to graft the dog head onto the guy's body. So he comes to, and apparently it all works.
Apparently, yes, you know.
But before they explode, the human tells the dog, listen, if I don't make it, take care of my girlfriend and my house. And then in a very RoboCop-esque montage, he gets released from the hospital and goes home to find out that she has left him. She can't handle the fact that her boyfriend is now just a dog head. And
has sold the house.
And it's very like, what is going on? So the Dogman doesn't talk. And the one thing I want to bring up, which is, so the director, Peter Hastings, who big, huge credentials in the TV production world. I mean, he's worked on the Kung Fu Panda, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Captain Underpants, Lilo and Stitch, Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs. This guy has got a resume in the TV world. who directed this, but he also does Dogman's voice. And Dogman, for the most part, just whimpers and howls.
And barks and
Right.
ruffs and yeah.
Yeah, where Petey has fluent English and
Yeah, voiced by the way by Pete Davidson, who
which is weird because I was getting James Wood vibes for
But
the
that's what I'm
longest.
saying. He is actually emoting here as this character that you wouldn't in a way that you wouldn't expect Pete Davidson to do. So I have to give him kudos for
Yeah,
his
no,
vocal
and
performance.
to be honest with you, Petey is this movie, is the heart and soul of this movie, not Dogman.
Yeah.
Dogman is just a vehicle to bring in Petey. As Petey, he's got father issues. He's got abandonment issues. At one point, he decides to order from Amazon a clone machine because he's just going to clone himself. There's a running joke with his assistant who quits or gets fired, but then never really leaves, but she doesn't help him. And then he clones this little Petey. And then once this little Petey comes in, this little cat who is just it's funny because you could see in the directions as he's cloning, he literally pulls a whisker off in order to get the DNA. And throughout the rest of the movie, he's only got 2 whiskers on that side. And so I give them props that they actually followed through on that. He never grew a 3rd whisker back. And then this little Petey basically gets treated the same way that Petey did, where he was abandoned. He doesn't want this kid. He goes like, oh, now wait 18 years for this kid to
because
become
he
evil.
didn't read the fine print. He's like, okay,
yeah.
Take a sample of your DNA, put it in the slot, press the on button, wait 18 years for the clone to grow.
Right. And what's funny is as he's reading the instructions, you can actually read that step 4 on the back. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well. But this kid, so this Lucas Hopkins Calderon, who plays little Petey, steals the movie. This becomes a little Petey movie that just happens to have Dogman in it. Dogman gets sidelined. He gets fired because he can't do the job of actually catching Petey. There is a running joke as well, which was great. Petey escaping numerous times from the pet jail.
Yes, the cat jail, specifically. The cat jail, yes.
Yeah.
I wish I had a cat jail here in this house.
Are you putting your cat in jail? My cat would not survive in a cat jail. You've also got this Sarah Hadoff, who is the reporter, played by Isla Fisher, and her cameraman Seamus, played by Billy Boyd, who is one of our.
You sure that's not Seamus?
Seamus, that is Seamus. Nice callback. Who is played by Billy Boyd? Billy Boyd. What's his name from Lord of the Rings? Pippin. I did not recognize him until end credits. It's same thing with Pete Davidson. Like you said, he's solid voice character on this because you really kind of after a while you feel for this cat. He's not just evil for the sake of being evil. Yes, and then, which most evil guys, I guess, are.
They do bring his father back into it because he has abandonment issues, does Petey, and then it turns out he abandons him again. His father does. So with these extra traumas that Petey suffers, and I'm giving maybe a little bit too much gravitas to the plot of this movie.
No, I think you're spot on though, because that's the heart and soul of this movie is this idea of abandonment. And Dogman, his wife or girlfriend leaves him. I mean, even though he's the dog end of it, he just happens to have the guy's body. He was part of the family. Yeah. And she just leaves him, and all he's got left is his little tennis ball that says Greg on it. There's a lot of emotion in this, which is also exhausting. And you got little Petey, who's just like this effervescent. There's a sequence where Pete's trying to tell him to get lost. He's like, why? And I thought that was hysterical because stupid kids. That's what they do. Why? He literally puts him in a box, free kitten, and leaves him out on the street.
So that's when Dogman comes across little Petey. And so he kind of, adopts him. So they bond. Then there's like a tug of war during the second half of this movie between Dogman and Petey over the little kid.
Yeah. So we have the chief of police, who's played by Little Rel Howery. He was the best friend in Get Out. He was the TSA agent.
Okay.
He kills this movie.
Yeah.
He's fantastic because he's, like you said, the running joke of he's just yelling at the dog, and the dog is constantly licking his face, and he's like, "Why you licking me in the mouth?" So he's fun. He's got a little bit of a contentious relationship with the mayor, played by Cherry O'Terry. We got all this going on, and yet somewhere in between, we get this. Excuse my French. We get this super rushed origin story of Flippy the fish.
This should have been in the whole movie. I think Flippy the fish, because it's Ricky Gervais.
Yes, yeah.
So it's like a breath of fresh air.
Because he's pure evil. He's
providing the laughs here. Everything, you got all this angst and all this abandonment storyline. Otherwise,
we've now got to team up to fight this third guy.
Which is great because this features heavily in the books, where they have a living spray factory.
Why would for what end? Why would you have a living spray factory?
So anything inanimate, if you spray it, it becomes alive. So the dead fish becomes sprayed and becomes alive, and the building, the factory itself, because there's an explosion of the spray, becomes alive.
Yes, this becomes like a giant kaiju monster building fisticuffs at the end of this. So it does go off the rails. It goes completely off the rails, and you got this crazy stuff going on. Kudos. I did appreciate the fact that there just happened to be an active volcano outside of town. There's a lot going on. But the buildings, right, when they become sentient, they're just chanting "Gooba Gaba, Gooba Gaba," or whatever, sounding like Jabba the Hutt.
So fast forward to the end. Petey is not so bad anymore. He, I guess, agrees to have joint custody of little Petey with Dogman in the end.
Yeah, you can see him on the weekends. Maybe we can come by.
Or they move in as two dads. I'm not really sure what happened at the end.
He walks away and then comes back to hang out with them. And in the techno building with the dance party is still active, and they end up in a dance sequence at the end. But the one takeaway that I did from this entire movie is that little Petey saves the day with his comic books. That these little comics that he's making, and he just hands them to everybody, and here's how I feel about you, and let's hold hands and stare at the stars. So comic books make everything better.
Yeah.
That's the narrative at the end of this.
That must be because, as you said in Captain Underpants, the kids are making their own comic book.
They're making their own comic
of this story. So this must be a subject close and dear to Dave Pilkey's heart.
Sure. Well, since all of his books are graphic novels, there's so many throwaway visuals and throwaway lines that I just didn't. Like I said, it's so rat-a-tat, and you're just bombarded with this stuff. It was hard for me to even keep up in some sequences, but at one point, little Petey proclaims "Flippy Kaye, Flippy Flip." That was straight up for the parents in the audience, because most of those kids probably have not seen Die Hard.
That was one of two times that I'm not even going to say laugh, that I chuckled out loud.
You chuckled, right?
Was that one, and when the dad first shows up and gets like dumped on the sidewalk and picks himself up and he farts. I chuckled at that too.
So the only thing's a fart joke.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there wasn't more like potty humor. There's no stepping in dog
I think they
poo.
Exhausted that in Captain Underpants.
But it's the same audience.
It is the same audience, but that's why I'm thinking you got to lean into the dog and cat stuff, because they didn't really.
No.
They did a little bit with Dogman when Petey is trying to make all these Acme type things that are like dog.
It's Wile E. Coyote,
like the giant vacuum. Or,
what's a dog afraid of? A vacuum.
Yep, the big butt sniffer, which is a giant nose.
Oh, that's right. And at the end, so they had, that was the other thing too. Is so in order to combat the giant buildings, they construct a giant postal worker, but then
the mailman 2000. Yes.
Yeah, but then when he gets destroyed, they all have to crawl out of his butthole. So
that was a third chuckle. Yeah. I don't think any of the kids in my audience caught that, or at least they were just, I don't think that's funny.
My kids were more engaged in some of the trailers. But like I said, they all clapped at the end. So maybe they were just happy it was over. I don't know. Maybe they were exhausted as well.
I don't know. But yes, I was looking at my phone to see what time it was, even though this was only
that's
90,
not good.
90
that's
minutes.
not good. That's never good. Yeah. I tried to get, since I was a middle-aged gentleman all by myself in a kid's movie, I tried to be as discreet as possible.
And I was the one that pushed for us to see this because I had a lot of goodwill towards this going in. So I was ready to enjoy it. So
yeah,
I was a bit disappointed.
Listen, I'm not saying that it's bad by any means. I'm not its audience. I appreciated it for what it was. Animation-wise, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
It looks just like the comic book. It looks.
But I had
like
to think to myself, okay, since they grafted his head onto the cop's body, his hands are the same color as his dog head is. They should be different colors.
They should be. Yeah. And you do he's got stitching on his back neck, and I didn't know if they literally sewed his uniform to his head to the uniform. I don't know. Don't ask it. Well, his doghouse also was like the TARDIS because it was much bigger on the inside.
Yes. And what happened to the other parts of the bodies? The dog's body and the guy's head.
I don't know. I want to see him come back, try and exact his revenge
on his girlfriend.
Oh, you're right. She packed up and left. That house was already half painted by the time he walked back in the door. And then the real estate agent didn't even recognize him. And I'm like, it's a dog with a man's body. And you're just talking to him like, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. Oh, you looking for a house? Yeah, this is my house. One of the other jokes I thought was funny is when there was like a car chase and the car ended up on like a big boy type of a statue. And they're like, they've fallen on top of that gyro. And the guy comes out of the restaurant. That's a cheesecake. And I'm like, it's just so random. Comic books save the day.
They do always.
That is true. If you read these books with your kids, if you know your kids have read these books, then I think they'll appreciate this. Just know going in as an adult, it's going to bombard you.
Yeah, it's not like one of these kids' movies that is very adult friendly, where you're both enjoying it equally, but on different levels. Right.
It's not like a Bugs Bunny where you're getting that high level brow comedy.
Speaking of Bugs Bunny, did you get the Looney Tunes trailer?
I did not. And I'm very upset that I did not. What's your take on that? Because that is something I think it was supposed to come out last year, and
I'm old school, so it's still grating to hear the voice.
You can't. I mean, that's like watching the Muppets and be like, "Oh, I wish I got Jim Henson back." It's like, well, that's not going to happen.
But it did look funny. There was funny jokes in it.
Okay. So, all right. Well, I'll have to keep that on our radar because that does look. From what I've seen, that looks fun. I did read, and I think this must be from the books. Grandpa's full name is Garfield F. Heathcliff, F standing for Felix. So he pulled deep on all those cat names, but that was never mentioned in this movie at all.
Yeah, and later on in the books, Little Petey becomes a superhero in his own right called Cat Kid, but they did not go there in this movie.
Well, that's got to be for the sequel.
Yeah.
Any kid who probably read these books is waiting. He's like, I can't wait for Cat Kid to come up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really?
But for this movie, for Dogman, out of 5 popcorn buckets, what would we deem it worthy of?
I'm still going to give it 3.5.
3.5? I'm
going to give it 3.5.
You poo-pooed.
I did. But then again, it's not for me. Artistically, I thought it was top notch. There's a lot going on. Maybe I was ill prepared for that. I don't know, but I'm still going to give it 3.5. I'm not going to.
Well, I agree with you that artistically, it's beautiful to look at. Pete Davidson really nails it.
Yeah,
his performance, I really was surprised by that. But in general, I did feel disappointment, especially after the high mark that the Captain Underpants movie set. If you haven't seen the Captain Underpants movie, go on streaming and find it because it is really good.
It is very well done. Yeah.
But yeah, this one I think fell a far second to Captain Underpants. Okay. So I'm giving this 2 3/4.
All right. So you're just saying lower your expectations.
Yes.
If you're excited for this.
All right.
Why?
So it's my turn to bring us into the concession stand.
Yeah,
and
dog treats.
there's not many candies that are dog associated.
No.
I was trying to find stuff that maybe had doggish kind of words in the name, but I was striking
digging
out there.
deep, yeah.
But then suddenly it hit me, and I risk anybody that's born after a certain year not even having any clue as to what I'm talking about. But hopefully Jeff will know. That's all I really ask for.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
Mr. Bones.
No idea what that is.
Came in a little plastic coffin.
Yes, okay. I do know what you're talking about.
And when you opened it up, it was hard candy.
Yes.
And it was like a jigsaw
skeleton.
puzzle.
It was a skeleton. I know exactly. Mr. Bones. Wow.
That's what the name... I never knew what the name of this thing was until I searched it for this show.
Wasn't the box actually a coffin?
It was, yes.
Okay.
You purchased the sealed casket, I might add. Broke the seal because it had a sticker, which was the barcode, wrapped around the coffin. Broke the seal, and then treated yourself to the bones.
You exhumed the sarcophagus?
Yes, you did. And I remember maybe a sweet tarts kind of a
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that. Yep.
taste to these things. It was more about the novelty. Maybe the novelty made the candy itself taste a little bit better than it actually did. There you have it, Mr. Bones in a little coffin. It came in a few different color varieties of the coffin. And the different bones that made up this jigsaw puzzle were also different colored and flavored, easier for you to kind of piece it together. Now, all in all, a skeleton, a complete skeleton in Mr. Bones would be made of 15 pieces.
Oh, geez.
Which you might or might not get in a container. So
you were not guaranteed a full...
No, it was just random pieces in the coffin that you're given. So you might have to buy more than one.
That is very disappointing as a child, though.
You might have to buy more than one.
So you would have the skull, the rib cage, each individual arm, probably two pieces.
If you remember, the rib cage had a big heart in the middle of it.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you had the skull, you had, as you said, the rib cage, 2 pieces of the arm bone, and then, of course, the hand was a separate piece as well. Pelvis.
So 15.
A couple pieces for the legs, and then the feet.
Yep, and the feet. Huh. How big was this? Like, how big was the case that you...
It wasn't big. I'd say it was big enough to fit a Star Wars figure in.
Oh, okay. So they were 3 3/4.
And I'm sure kids did that. I'm like, I'm going to bury Han Solo today in the backyard.
Somebody still got a Boba Fett buried in their backyard.
Yeah, or use the coffin to do the carbon freezing in Empire Strikes Back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mr. Bones.
And the coffins actually had a little loop on the end so you could make a keychain out of it.
Interesting.
So, when kids fired up their Mustang, their 77 Mustang...
You could hang it from your rearview mirror.
Yes. So a little bit of history. The Fleer Company developed Mr. Bones. Fleer, going back into our history, developed Double Bubble, which you covered, Jeff, in an early concession stand episode. But Fleer was mostly known for baseball cards, of course.
Yes, correct.
But in the late 70s, 1977, Vero Ricci, who also designed the plastic garbage can.
Oh, yes, I remember those even more so.
Called Garbage Candy.
Yep.
See what they did there? That had fish bones in it and old boots.
Fish, like a sandwich or something.
Yeah. Same flavor, same taste as your Mr. Bones. And then you would always eat down to the end of your coffin or your garbage can. There'd always be that residue of candy dust in there.
You had to lick your finger and run around the inside in order to...
Exactly.
Too bad you didn't have a lick 'em stick.
So these were novelty items, basically, for the Fleer Company. And of course, they were hugely popular.
Sure.
As soon as they came out. Yeah. Now, there's not much history. That's pretty much basically the deal, is that this guy made it, and then it was a hit as soon as it came out. Fleer was in existence. They put Mr. Bones out from the late 70s when it was introduced into the mid 90s, and then it stopped production. And then 10 years after that, Fleer sold themselves off. So Mr. Bones, unfortunately, doesn't exist anymore. There's other, if you look up Bones candy, yeah, there's knockoffs. I don't believe that they're Jigsaw like the Mr. Bones was, but you can still get Bones-shaped candy. There's been various fan petitions over the years to bring this back. None of them ever successful, unfortunately.
Bring it back!
Although, I can say this. The vintage, what's the name of this? They make action figures. Super 7's reaction figures.
Huh.
So they are very heavily involved in the nostalgia market where they make action figures for pretty much any old movie or old ad campaign that you can think of. They have recently come out with a Mr. Bones action figure.
Oh.
Completely built. Unfortunately, you cannot eat him.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is he edible?
And he does not come with a coffin.
What?
But he does come with a little tombstone that says he's so real, which used to be on the box that you could, when you were in a 7-Eleven.
Sure. Yep.
The cardboard box and had the picture of Mr. Bones on it. That was the tombstone on the box. So for anybody that's likes to look at Mr. Bones but can't eat it, it seems to be a very teasing campaign. Why would you do this without bringing back the candy itself? It'd be like coming out with a toy version of a Snickers bar or something. Yeah, I'm just going to put it on my desk. I can't do anything with it. I can't look at it.
Are you going to eat that Snickers?
Yep.
No, you can't eat it.
Or I'm going to throw it in the pool, just like those kids in Caddyshack.
It's okay.
But that's it. Mr. Bones.
All right, Mr. Bones. Well, there you go. Wow, that's a deep cut right there.
So continuing on with the dog theme.
Deep cut indeed.
And continuing on from last week with our last episode with our Stephen King theme.
Yeah, what's up with that? I will tell you, I had numerous eye rolls when I told people what we were pairing up with Dogman. We thought we were clever. It's pretty funny.
We were clever.
Yes.
Cujo and Dogman together.
There you go. Yeah.
So Cujo, a 1981 Stephen King novel.
Oh, the book came out in 81.
The book came out in 81 to give them a couple of years to be able to get their act together to make the movie.
I will say this definitely would have been an interesting book club pick where we actually compared this movie to the novel.
I've said this before. I was a major Stephen King fan.
Yep.
I read all his books. Cujo, never one of my favorites. If your typical Stephen King early novel like your Salem's Lot or The Stand or Christine especially, I'd read year after year, over and over again. Cujo, maybe I read once or twice.
It was a one and done.
Yeah.
Well, on the surface, it's just Jaws.
Yeah. Animal on the loose kind of stuff.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, this is true. Since Old Yeller, nobody's really gone into the rabid dog territory. I'm probably wrong, but Old Yeller being the last high-profile rabid dog in popular culture.
You think it's like a whole subgenre of rabid dog movies?
So this would be like, what if Old Yeller lived? This is probably what would have happened.
Do you remember we covered One Crazy Summer, which was that John Cusack, Bobcat Goldthwait comedy? Yeah, and they lived on Nantucket, and they were filming a rabid dolphin movie called Foam. So yes, rabid dog. So within the first 2 minutes of this movie, you get the premise. It tells you right out front.
Did I rent Homeward Bound or something?
This looked like fun. This rabbit chase sequence. Like, how fun would this be to film? But then I'm like, wait a minute. Do bats and bunnies cohabitate? Like, they don't live in the same, like a rabbit lives in a warren and a bat lives in
I think maybe the rabbit was desperate and this was not his home. He was just like, because you see the rabbit cowering, like, oh, I don't know. I like where I am. So
I wouldn't like where he is either, but I've never seen bats like burrow. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't matter.
It was, remember when Bruce fell into the well and the bats all freaked him out?
That was a cave. That was an entire
This looked like
system.
A cave. It looked, there was maybe some stalagmites, stalactites happening in here.
That's guano that's been built up. Actually, I would love it if the dog got bit by the rabid bat and then just became like Bat Dog.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
would
and
have
then
been
like
if
then
he
wore a
acquired
hood and a cowl.
superheroes. That would have been fantastic. He
Or
could have
if the
run around with
rabbit
Dogman.
got bit by the bats.
Oh, where rabbit? Now
Yeah.
you're talking. Now you're talking Wallace and Gromit. So I will tell you this. So I got the 40th anniversary Blu-ray from my library. And I sat down. Now, my wife, we've gone on record numerous times. She does not like scary movies. And apparently this movie freaked her out as a kid because I was not even allowed to watch it in her presence. And I was home one day and I'm like, oh, now's my chance. But she works from home and she's like, I don't even want to hear it. And I couldn't pair my earbuds to my television. So I had to watch it from Pluto on my phone and sit through numerous commercials.
In her defense, it is very upsetting. You know, I can see if you're an animal lover, it does look like the dog is actually rabid.
The special effects are pretty impressive, and especially we'll get into it because they use 5 different Saint Bernards. At one point, there is a man in a dog costume that they've used for certain sequences.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what's what.
It's tough. It is tough. I will say this holds up. This is the last 20 minutes is pretty intense. And yeah, it's very unsettling to see this family puppy with pus coming out of its eyes, and he's got this pustule puncture on his nose, and he's just like, no one seems to see this dog in decline. Like he's matted, he's covered in blood, and everyone's like, "Come on, Cujo, let's go."
Oh, look at that! You got a little bite on your nose, and he's this huge explosion of blood on his nose.
No, but it takes a long time to get there.
Even when the kid, the owner of Cujo, says to his mother, he is foaming at the mouth and covered in blood. Oh, your father will take care of it.
I'm worried about Cujo. So it's been a very long time since I've seen this movie. And there's large swaths of it that I have no memory of. And it takes a long time for this dog to go completely rabid and actually start attacking people. So we're introduced to this little boy, Tad, who apparently has some issues with his closet, but that's it's never addressed or resolved, other than the fact that his dad has to write him some kind of a monster manifesto to keep him.
Yes, unless you assume that once Tad makes it through this movie, that he has conquered all of his monster in the closet.
No, I think this would just send him into. I would go off the deep end. I'd be in therapy the rest of my life after this.
My DVD had a commentary. And the director, Louis Teague, who directed Alligator, one of our favorites, and one of Stephen King's as well, because he recommended Louis Teague direct this movie. There was another director, it wasn't working out, and Louis Teague came in like a couple of days into production. Louis Teague says in the commentary they actually attempted to make an entity that is on camera that is in the kid's closet, and he just said it just wasn't convincing and they had to cut it.
But to what end? Now there's a supernatural element to it? Well,
in the book.
Okay, this is why I'm saying I think this is interesting if we had compared this, because go ahead, because there's elements in the book that are just not addressed in this whatsoever.
Yeah, because the book is very much in the Stephen King universe, right? Where other stories, other books have taken place in the world of Cujo.
Is this Castle Rock?
Dead Zone features a killer, a serial killer, that Johnny Smith, who is played famously by Christopher Walken in that movie, helps to capture because he's a psychic. And the killer in the Dead Zone, who is killed in that story, supposedly, or it is suggested that he is reincarnated in the rabid Cujo in the book Cujo.
So that's interesting. That's like Chucky level.
They did make the Dead Zone the same year, but it's two different companies, movie companies. Right. They can't reference.
And it's confusing, right? Yeah. It is very confusing. So I read that and I'm like, well, that's interesting. So
I think it makes it less frightening in a way. Is a dog possessed by a human? No, it's just a force of nature, you know?
Yeah. which happens. I mean, you start doing some research into rabies, and yeah, no, it happens all the time. PSA, by the way, September 28th is World Rabies Day. So go get your pets vaccinated today.
Go get yourself some rabies on World Rabies Day.
Yes, yeah. Your local store will have rabies on hand. I got nothing. So we're introduced to Tad and his family and his mom, played by Dee Wallace, who we know goes on to be E.T.'s mom. Well, Elliot's mom.
No, she was coming from being Elliot's mom. That was the year before.
This was after the fact. Okay. And then Dad, Vic, who is the guy from Hardcastle McCormick.
So this is Daniel Hugh Kelly as Dad here. And his biggest role up to that point was in a soap opera. I'm breaking into the big leagues with this one.
Yeah, sure. Stephen King book. I mean, Hardcastle McCormick was on the air for quite a while. And
Dee Wallace here, maybe she should have played the girlfriend in Dogman, because you can you can tell there's something wrong with this picture.
Interesting casting. Well, right. So the friend Steve comes in, and immediately I write in my notes, "Oh, Mom's not a big fan of Steve." Oh no, just the opposite. Mom's a huge fan of Steve. I'm like, within minutes, this becomes Desperate Housewives of Castle Rock. We've got infidelity going on. Dad is, I still couldn't pick up on, is he an ad exec that came up with a campaign for the cereals?
Yes. He's like a Mad Men kind. He doesn't work for the cereal company. He works for the ad company that came up with the character.
So Sharp cereal, by the way, not the best branding. But we see this.
And what was the tagline? Nothing wrong here.
Nothing wrong.
You might as well say, what could go wrong?
Right. Because we find out pretty quickly. So we see the commercial of the professor. They have a professor that's advertising, that's promoting, like he's the spokesman for this line of cereals. No kid's going to want to eat a cereal that a professor is saying this is good for you. So that's a weird. So there's all these weird subplots going on. We got the monster in the closet. The parents clearly have issues with each other. And at one point he's like, what's going on here? Maybe we should just have another baby. Said no sane person ever. Like that's going to fix your relationship. And then we're introduced to Joe Camba, who owns Cujo on a farm. He's like some hillbilly that Vic has to go and get his
let me
car
point
fixed.
out that the mailman causes this entire thing to happen.
Postal dude. Yeah, look, that's our tie-in, the postal man at the end of the first movie. Joe Camba gonna fix your car. Excuse me?
This guy's no good. Go to the hillbilly that beats his wife.
He says it right in front of that guy too while he's fixing a car. This guy's not gonna help you. So they have to take the car to go get fixed.
And how did they get like a purebred Saint Bernard, this backwoods family? Well, don't you have to like go to a pet shop and pay lots of money to get a Saint Bernard like that?
Pet shops up there in the middle of Maine. They just grow on trees, just like the bats in holes. Bats grow in the holes, and Saint Bernards grow on trees. I don't know, but the first thing this kid Tad does is put his face right into the front of, like, this is after we know that Cujo's been bit. He's like, oh, that's Cujo. He's friendly. And the kid puts his face right in the front of, I deal with dogs all day long in my job. You don't, it's a strange dog. You don't put your face. Well, PSA number 2, don't put your face in front of a stranger's dog.
It is a 5-year-old, so maybe that's the first life lesson that he's had in strange dogs.
If he got his face bit, he would have. He would know really quick. So we're introduced to these characters, and then all of a sudden we find out that the cereal is being pulled from the shelves because internal bleeding. Again, maybe you should have called your cereal Sharp cereal.
Although it's a false alarm because it's actually the red dye that's coming out of these kids'
right. All of a sudden, Vic is like, well, so he starts mentioning about, kids are peeing and puking red dye, and all of a sudden we're going to lose our jobs. I'm like, no one said that. Maybe you know more than they do. So now they got to go. He's got to go into town to he's got to go and meet with this agent or this company. They're going to lose their accounts.
Yeah,
We're going to have to come up with a whole new campaign.
And between driving back and forth to his job to home, he sees the wife with the guy that she's fooling around with.
She is none too subtle with this Pinto. It's a small little town, and she is just parking right out front of this guy's house. Yeah, I can't see you anymore. Okay.
There is an artful storytelling kind of push going on here, because as all of this is coming to the head with the wife and her infidelity being found out, Cujo at the same time is, as you said, slowly becoming rabid. So these situations are both growing out of hand concurrently together, and then they are going to meet when the wife drives up and nobody's home but Cujo.
Well, that's because the hillbilly's wife wins the lottery. She gets $5,000, so she's conveniently out of town with the son, who is worried about
she's not
Cujo.
coming back either. She's putting her photo albums in the suitcase. She has no intention of ever coming back. That's why when the son, who encounters Cujo, who almost attacks him but changes his mind,
right. Cujo's like, not yet.
I'm not crazy enough yet to do this. Let's just give me another day. Right. The mother's like, your dad'll take care of it. And then you can almost hear her thinking, and maybe Cujo will rip his throat out and do me a favor.
I don't know. Yeah. It's a really weird, like, she buys the old man an engine lift and he is immediately mad.
Because this is all part of a plan for her to get out of the house.
It's just, again, it's machinations that it's like, what the hell is going on here? And for like a split second, I thought she was the foster mom from Terminator 2. And I'm like, wait, no, it's not her. So they're out of the picture. Vic's out of town. And I did like that. Vic and George, his partner, Roger, are about to lose their most coveted account. And yet they still stay in a posh hotel and eat lobster.
Yep.
I'm like,
wait, you might as well if it's on the company dime.
So
I could be out on the street tomorrow. I'm going to eat lobster right now.
You might as well, while the sun's shining.
Yeah.
So Cujo's in for a bad day, and you feel bad for this dog. Like, at this point, I'm rooting for everyone to die but Vic, because this guy's getting screwed over. The hillbilly and his buddy, like, they deserve his fat ass neighbor. Like, they deserve.
The scumbag buddy.
Yeah,
his house was such a hovel, a den of scumbaggedness.
He's not even recycling; he's just dumping kids out into the street.
Just dumping garbage in the big pile in front of his house.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
And he makes a joke a little bit earlier in the movie, like, your dog, you're not going to sick your dog couldn't sick anybody. You're like, oh yeah, so you just hang around.
Foreshadowing.
Buddy.
That's foreshadowing right there. So all of this is building up to Vic's out of town. The mom and the kid are out of town. Cujo finally gets fed up with these hillbillies, and he takes them both out. He takes out the neighbor, and then the old man's like, "Whoa, George, where are you?" And then he sees his throat ripped out, and then Cujo attacks him as well.
But he gives a little bit of exposition to the audience, if you haven't figured it out already. You're rabid.
Well, again, you see him get bit by the bat. We all know what happens when you get bit by a bat.
Yeah.
I think the urban legend is that when Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off the bat, he had to get rabies shots.
I'm sure he did
back in the day. I think that's all made up.
Well, I mean, it didn't mean that he had rabies. He probably just like stepping on a nail. You want to get a shot for that.
Yeah.
This is my central conundrum with what's going on here. You just expect to show up at a mechanic and he's going to fix your car. You have to at least call first. I'm coming to drop off the car.
Right. This thing can barely make it up the road. She puts a kid in the back seat. They're sputtering up he's 6 miles out of town, so he's in the middle of nowhere. It's a farm. It's farmland as far as the eye can see. So it's not like you can run to the neighbors.
Yeah, even if they just had an establishing scene where she does that before anybody gets attacked, it would have been more palatable, right?
Yeah. Hey, Joe, by the way, I got to bring this car back.
That's on the answering machine as he's getting his throat ripped out.
Right? Yes. That's all it would take. Yeah.
Yep.
But before Vic leaves, he absconds his kid from day camp. You can't just take your kid from day camp. You need to sign him out. They're still looking for him. So Tad's already, we can tell that Tad's got issues because he can tell. Don't tell me that a kid can't feel the tension between his parents. So that's probably where the monster in the closet is.
Yeah, well, it's up to him to diffuse the tension because he does that little Jaws thing when they're starting to fight
correct.
at dinner. Yeah.
When you get to the end of this and the mom and the kid are trapped in the car, this is just Jaws. They're on the Orca and this thing's just circling. They can't get out. They can't get out the boat. But so Tad has like seizures, and it's like nothing's ever been established up to this point that he had any kind of like asthmatic issues. And I'm thinking to myself, this kid must have Pac-Man fever. I saw his lunch pail.
And I have to say, like right when this starts, when the dog first attacks them, it's got a really good jump scare.
This is intense. This last 20 minutes holds up so well. All this other soap opera crap that's going on around it leads up to this moment where she gets to the farm, the car dies, and before they can even get out, the dog attacks. And he is just going full on headbutts into the door. He's up on the windows. He's trying to crawl his way in. There's a beautiful scene inside the car where the camera spins 360 and it goes to her and then it spins around to the kid and then it spins to the back window. And then it just spirals out of control. And you're like, they are trapped in this car and it is insane.
And it is probably like 90 degrees out.
Yeah, well, that's just it, is that they're both sweating. She's got, lip sweat going on. This kid is ready to die. He's twice she has to like resuscitate him to bring him back to life. So, and at this point, this dog is just, he's disgusting.
Oh, yeah. He's got like yellow fluid coming out of his eyes. And that's what I'm thinking. This poor dog, they had to put all this crap all over him.
Actually, I did read that the dogs were having so much fun with this that and there's one scene in particular, you can see this, that they had to bind his tail down because he was wagging it. He was wagging his tail. Yeah, because
he was anticipating ripping this woman's throat out, probably. He's
no, what they would do, you want to know why he would attack the car? They would take his toy from him and put it inside the car. And that was what would cause the dog to go nuts.
But wouldn't you think that, like, if a dog was crazy, he would have a good time ripping somebody's throat out and he would wag his tail? That would make it even more scary. Like, this dog is insane.
Yeah. But again, like they had to stop numerous times because that mucus and all that crap around the dog, it was just egg whites and sugar. I'm like, dude, you're just slapping a meringue pie on this dog's face and he's licking it off. He's like, this is good. 5 different St. Bernards. And like you said, there's a mechanical head that's involved in some of these scenes. They actually swapped him out for a Rottweiler in a couple scenes, as well as a guy in a dog suit. And yet, it's seamless.
Whenever the dog made his way into the car and was on top of her, that's when I was looking at it thinking, okay, this has got to be something that's artificial. But it didn't. The skin looked real. Everything looked real.
It really does hold up, and it's intense. Because it's such quick cuts, it's hard for you to gauge. Which is, even when you're looking for it, you can't, is that a mechanical dog head? Is that just, I do find it funny that this dog was able to take out 2 grown men and yet she can fight it off and get her. I mean, the dog's inside the car at one point and she's still able to get, he did bite down on her leg, but
by this time, the dog is probably deteriorated so that it's, it's all over the place. So maybe that was at its peak when it killed the 2 guys. Its peak of crazy. And now he's just deteriorating. His mind is going.
Yeah. She is going to need some rabies shots herself.
But why? She gets the car started, starts to leave, and then stops. Yeah. Which is then when the car stalls again. If she had just kept going.
Just gunned it. No, that's when you gun it. Yeah.
She has to get in a word to the dog.
F you, dog.
Yep.
I heard her say.
And the dog is like, F me, No, 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 no.
No.
F you.
I heard her say flippy kaye, flippy flip. This whole thing was I was waiting for this monster in the closet to like eat the poison cereal, and then the professor was going to have to team up with Cujo in order, Cujo was going to get like Spider-Man like powers, and then they'd have to fight together.
The professor shows up like with his pipe in his mouth, like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, like the like in Fright Night.
Yeah,
he's the expert. He's a cereal. Oh, this dog ate the cereal. He's mad. So it is very intense. There is a scene where you think Tad is pretty much dead, and she's having none of it. I did read an interview with Dee Wallace who said that like she was there mentally. She was there in those moments, and it comes across on screen. She is not, it's a real dog that wants to kill her in her mind. So
standout performance.
But at the end of it, nothing's resolved. I mean, the family's still torn apart by mom's infidelity. And the dad probably lost his main ad account.
See, not a
and that poor kid, ending. Even though his mom won $5,000,
he lost his dog.
And his dad. Thanks.
Well, the dad wasn't a big loss there. And that kid, by the way, was like dressed in your typical suburban kind of
every
clothes.
Kid in this late 70s, early 80s had that striped shirt.
But you'd think that he'd be
like Garanimals.
It would be like Vacation, where it'd be Randy Quaid's kid also dressed in overalls.
Right. Well, Dad was a mechanic. I don't know.
So the husband tries calling home, like when he's out on the road still, while in the early stages of her being trapped in the car. Nobody answers. I'd just be like, "Oh, she's out two-timing me again."
Yeah. Well, I think that's what his concern was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, she said it's over. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with you. Bye. I'm going. I'm going to try and save my job.
I don't think he's calling the mechanic, but you see him calling, and then you see the phone ringing in the house, and the phone really sets the dog off because apparently rabies makes
that is interesting. There was a couple times where the dog was triggered by noise.
Yeah.
So they just
and then he breaks the window of the house. I'm like, you don't want to go in and sleep in a bed? Well, I guess he is crazy, so he's
right. No, I'll just sit right here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to see the sequel where she gets she's now rabid and goes on the loose.
And then the stupid mailman is like, oh, I got to bring this out. Oh, no, wait, they put a stop hold on their mail. This guy is not going to take the time to go and put a stop hold on his mail for what, 2 days?
And that's odd, right? Unless the wife did it. Well, I'm leaving. Clearly that bumper is not for you.
Yeah.
It was for the husband who's fixing a car. But there's also a complete misdirect and in a side plot that goes nowhere, where the jilted boyfriend breaks into her house and he grabs a knife. And then when the husband comes home, the whole house is filled with feathers and stuffing. And you're like, what the F is going on here? And then you find out that the guy just broke into the house and ripped up her picture and tore up the bed. Like, I was waiting for this guy to come and somehow save her. He doesn't show up again.
No, you never see him again. I think he's picked up, though, for breaking into the house. The cigarette smoking man tells us.
No, that's Deep Throat from X-Files. That's Jerry Hardin.
Oh, you're right. You're right. That is Deep Throat.
Yeah, no, that's not the smoking man. Great show, though.
The jilted boyfriend, Dee Wallace's husband in real life.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was also in The Howling with her.
Oh, that's right. She was in The Howling. Oh, she turns into the Pickadees at the end.
Yeah, she does.
Was that after? Maybe that's why she got rabid.
No, the Howling was 2 years previous to this.
Damn, I'm trying to create my own universe over here. All right, there's a lot going on that.
And then the cop shows up because the husband says,
"Yeah, this is unsettling as well." Because he's ill prepared to deal with a dog.
But he drives right by the Pinto with a huge blood stain on it.
Right. And dog paws all over. It's like, yep. That's what most Pintos look like around here.
And so then the husband asks Deep Throat from X-Files, well, what happened to the cop that you said you were going to send up to the mechanic?
We haven't heard from him yet.
Oh, he hasn't called in yet.
What do you mean he hasn't called in yet?
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, you know these cops. They
hey,
eat
is Luke
donuts.
Skywalker checked
yeah.
in from the Eastern Rim yet? Nah, we haven't heard from him. It's freezing out there. Yeah, no, he's probably just hanging out. Okay.
But this is when we get the distraction long enough for Dee Wallace to get out of the car and grab that baseball bat that she's been eyeing for the past 24 hours
Yeah.
that's on the lawn, and she beats Cujo down with it until the
Breaks
bat
it.
breaks over his
Breaks.
head. Yes.
And then he jumps on her and she stabs him with it.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, oh, that's it.
You cannot have this movie end without one
No,
final jump
this is
scare.
a jump scare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she does have the cop's gun.
It's not actually Cujo that jumps through the window. It's Gary Busey at the end of Lethal Weapon.
It's that albino jackrabbit.
Yep, he's got bigger
Recognize it.
teeth than Cujo does.
Oh, Gary Busey. That would be scarier if it was just a rabid Gary Busey.
Yes. He finally takes off the Cujo mask and it's Gary Busey.
It's me.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. There's nothing else except for the dog dying. There's nothing else resolved.
Yeah.
The only one who gets a happy ending is the mom who took the kid and they jump ship.
$5,000 is enough for you to be like, that's it. I'm out of here, man. I'm set for life.
She's having lobster tonight.
Yep. I'm going to my sisters in Connecticut.
One of the fun things that I learned about this is that it was filmed in winter, 82, 83. So it was actually freezing in that car. They had to have a space heater in there.
Even in the dead of summer in Maine, I don't think it's that hot. But again, it's pretty solid. All things considering, all this mumbo jumbo that's going on around them, that last 20 minutes or so is really it holds up.
It does. It does. It's effective. It's effective. Again, if you're an animal lover, this is deeply disturbing stuff. Deeply.
Yes. Yeah, because the dog does get taken out in the end.
And he's just this lovable moosh at the very beginning.
No, you actually feel bad. I mean, the dog, he's like, I'm not feeling so well. I'm not feeling so good over here. Can somebody help me out? Do you see the mucus coming out of my eyeballs? Nope. Nah, we're good. I did see that Stephen King admits that he was so deep into his alcoholic addiction at the time, he does not remember writing this book. That's a hell of a thing to wake up to. Oh, shit, I wrote a book.
I think the serial killer in Dead Zone possessed him.
You think so? Oh, work and no play makes Stephen.
Yes. I always wondered, why name the dog Cujo? It's not like it's, Rex or Spot.
There was, I didn't put it in my notes, but it is short for something.
I do see something on IMDb here I'm looking at right now. The rumor circulated that Cujo is an ancient Native American word meaning unstoppable force.
Right.
But in reality, Stephen King named the dog after the code name of William Lawton Wolfe, one of the founders of the Symbionese Liberation Army. Now, Google that because I'm not going to bother getting into that explanation.
I like the first explanation better.
The Wolf's code name was actually spelled Kahjoh, Kahjoh, which was misreported in the media as Cujo.
I also think it's nice and short, just like Jaws.
And it's got that
number of right,
like kill, cut. Cujo.
Do you think there's people out there that still name their dog after this?
Oh yeah,
Cujo?
I'm sure people that like
Psychos.
to have dog fights name their pit bulls Cujo.
The
movie was Maslin, but not in a bad way.
Oh no.
Janet Maslin was one of the only ones that gave it a somewhat positive review. She said, by no means a horror classic, but it is still suspenseful and scary.
All right, I buy that. Yeah.
Siskel and Ebert both hated it.
Oh.
Siskel, it's one of the dumbest, flimsiest excuses for a movie that I have ever seen.
And I watch it every year.
And Ebert just called it dreadful and stopped there.
Dreadful. Wow, that's harsh. Sick the dog on him. We didn't even mention, so the kid is played by Danny Pintaro, who went on to, he was on to Who's the Boss?
Who's the boss?
Angela.
Who's the boss here, Angela?
He's a pretty solid actor, this kid.
Oh, yeah, this.
What's required of him? So does he die in the book?
Yes, he does.
that is one thing I also read, that King wished that he had not killed off the kid in the book.
So I guess that's your happy ending there is, you don't know what happens to this family afterwards, but at least, hey, the kid lives.
At least the kid lives. He's going to be traumatized in therapy the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So if he thought he had monsters in his closet before, forget it.
They're going to be sitting next to him in school at the next desk, the monsters.
Yeah. He would be balled up in a corner of the theater watching Dogman. He'd be like, no!
So this was released during the Stephen King boom of the early 80s, because when everybody, all these studios were getting in on the Stephen King name. Dead Zone, Christine, also released the same year, 1983.
Pet Sematary was later.
Pet Sematary was end of 80s, 89.
Yeah,
that came out.
But they all kind of have that same flavor. They do have that patine to them.
But this was released in August, the dog days of summer.
Okay.
Usually the dumping ground, right, for studios. Cost $6 million to make. It did make $21 million back, so a modest success.
I wonder how much it cost for them to make that robotic dog head.
That probably was a big chunk of that budget.
Or how many Pintos they used.
When it was initially released, Warner Brothers was the distributor. So I don't know if they lost the rights to the film, Warner Brothers, over the years or not. So there you go, Cujo. How many buckets of bones would we give out of 5?
Bucket of bones. I'm going to give it 3.
I'll go same. I'll go 3, even for Cujo.
Yes.
Not the best of Stephen King's filmed oeuvre, but it's not the worst by any means.
Have they remade this?
It's been suggested, but Louis Teague was offered to make a remake of Cujo, but he turned it down.
Why would you want to? I already made that movie.
Yeah.
Find someone else to remake it. Why am I going to remake my own movie? Once they're trapped in that car, I mean, he does go out of his way to really make it as claustrophobic as possible. And that 360 camera that spins around there at one point is like, wow, house is right there, barn's right there, bat's right there, but I can't get out. And this thing is he's almost as big as the car, which I think is on purpose. Pick a small vehicle that makes him feel even more trapped.
All right. So
it's out there. Good boy.
Should we move on and talk about what else we did during the
Yes, I'm very
break?
excited. I'm gonna throw what I've been doing because I want to hear you had just come back from a long delayed family vacation. So I want to hear your Disney exploits. I am going to tell you that my son finally got me to sit down and watch Invincible.
On Prime, right?
It is on Prime. This is based on Robert Kirkman's comic series.
Yes.
I think there are 3 seasons. I'm currently about 6 episodes into the season 1. They're pretty solid episodes. They're like 50 minutes each. It's not like a little half hour. I'm really digging it. If you know, Robert Kirkman, also creator of The Walking Dead. So our main character is actually voiced by Stephen Yeun, who was famously, what's his name from Walking Dead? Glenn. J.K. Simmons is also in this, as well as Sandra Oh. And it's pretty solid.
I've only just noticed it recently showing up on my banner on Prime.
Yeah, maybe because the new season just dropped.
Could be.
So anyways, yeah, he's banged through them all. And the other night we ordered some pizza and some wings, and we just sat down and we watched the first 3 episodes together.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and of course I had thoughts and some speculations, and he's smart enough that he doesn't corroborate anything. He just looks at me and he says, "Keep watching."
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in. It's very obvious that a lot of these characters are just DC hero ripoffs in as far as like their superpowers and whatnot, but a lot of Peter Parker high school angst. As this kid develops his powers, and his dad is a Superman level alien, and there's shadowy government agents and other superheroes, and it's just a lot going on, and it's very bloody. I will tell you this: it is a very adult, lot of decapitations and blood. And that's it. That's what I'm bringing.
All right. So, as we discussed, I did take a trip to Disney, which was put on hold thanks to my massive heart attack. I have to thank my cardiologist for always bringing up that word. So I'm like, can you downplay it a little bit?
Can you just massive thanks. I can't believe you're still here.
This was supposed to happen in August. Obviously didn't. And so we thankfully were able to push out the dates to January. So we just got back about a week and a half ago. And it just so happens that these dates that we booked in January coincided with the coldest snap in Florida that they probably have ever
That's crazy. Yeah. You were saying it was like 40 degrees certain days.
It was between 30 and 40 the first 3 days that we got there.
Which is not how you want to experience Disney.
Right, which is walking around outside all day.
Right, sure.
So they had us on the hook because, when we're on our way down there, we've got family in Florida, albeit, 5 hours away from Disney on the Panhandle.
Still in the same state. Yeah.
But they're still like, you better bundle up. When you hear somebody from Florida say bundle up, like, did they know what bundle up?
Right, correct. It's going to be 70 today.
Yeah.
Right? No, they knew what they were talking about this time.
So we're like, okay, let's pack a couple of hoodies, just in case. Let's bring jeans instead of shorts. So we get down there, and I'm like, I wish I had packed long underwear. I wish I had packed my winter coat.
Crazy.
So they really get you because, of course, in the gift shop at the Disney Hotel, out come the hat and gloves. So now you're
they actually
forced.
have them, really? Wow, that's like
it looked like they were generic. They were not Disney hat and gloves. Like they had to order them wholesale, like emergency from somebody.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they're like $50 a pop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is like when you're in Manhattan and it starts raining, and all of a sudden the guy in the street corner selling umbrellas for $1, they become 20. Sorry, sucker.
So you're like, when you're normally in the gift shop, you're eyeing that Mickey plush that you can bring back home, and like,
no, not so.
Should I get the plush or should I get the gloves? The gloves, and yeah.
If you cut open the plush, you could crawl inside of it like a tauntaun.
Yes, I would have so welcomed that. But also because we stayed at the Caribbean Beach Hotel, which is a very large complex.
And it sounds warm. It
sounds warm. It looks warm, but was not warm. No. It's got a centrally located main building where the food court is, and it's got all these complexes of rooms around it. So depending on where your room is, it's luck of the draw. You might have to walk a ways to get breakfast, to get dinner at the main building of the hotel. And of course, we were almost the farthest away that you could get from the main building. So breakfast was a 6 a.m. frozen-faced trudge through the hotel to get to the main building. And then that's not even counting walking through the parks. So generally, when you're in Florida and Disney and it's hot out, you're ducking into rides and buildings to get some air conditioning. It's the other way around here during this trip. Okay, Small World doesn't have a line. We'll go on that again because it's too cold to stand out here.
But the water froze.
Yeah. So that was the first 3 days was that. So we experienced the Magic Kingdom freezing, Epcot freezing. It started to turn the third day. We went to Animal Kingdom. And then by the end of it, the last 3 days was in the 70s where, your sweet spot normally is. So we did get a little bit of Florida weather. So you'd also think to yourself, okay, end of January, this has got to be a dead time. There are kids in school.
Yep. Right.
So, and it's colder than normal.
It's not prime.
Right. I have never seen it busier at Disney, period, than when I took this trip in January. I don't know why that is. What happened? It seems the entire country of Brazil was there with me.
It was even colder in Brazil.
But it was packed, and the lines were insane. And thankfully, I had bought the Lightning Lane passes, which are the new version of your Fast Pass.
Right.
Which you now have to pay for. They're no longer free perks included with your park ticket.
There are no free perks anymore.
But I paid for all this stuff, and I was able to get in what I needed to get into.
Okay.
Because of the heart issues I had, I was a little bit hesitant on some of these things.
Were there some of the rides they say you can't ride on this if you've
Yeah,
had this many
well,
heart attacks?
Guardians I had to forego because that is a turbulent ride.
Yeah.
Harrison went on it himself. I didn't accompany him.
But you've done the Guardians ride
I've done the Guardians
Okay.
before.
Okay.
I did not go on Tron, even though I
the
had
light
a fast
cycle?
pass. I was like, I don't know what to expect here because I was looking at reviews.
Sure.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to risk it.
Can't get you too agitated.
But what I did do was go into the Tron gift shop that you
Okay.
walk through at the end of the ride. It was amazing. Wow. Not only action figures and stuff, but they had, of course, literally frisbees that look like the identity
get
disc.
out of here.
But they were just frisbees. It wasn't like
sure.
it was a decorative
that's all they
thing.
were. That's all they were in the movie was
But it was a glow-in-the-dark frisbee with the rings around it.
Okay.
I kind of wish I did get it, but I didn't. And they had like a really garish, loud Flynn's t-shirt where it didn't look like the Flynn's t-shirt that Jeff Bridges wears in the movie.
Like Flynn's Arcade.
Right. What it was is just it had Flynn's in like a very 80s font. It was like a light green pink t-shirt with like a generic arcade game on the front of it. I'm like, if they had a t-shirt that looked like the t-shirt from the movie, then I'd want to get it.
Which, if you're a fan, because I mean, we talked about Tron episode 333, by the way. It's a bit of a call. I mean, obviously, was there any kind of merchandise teeing up the new movie, Tron Ares?
A lot of the vehicle, there was a lot of little toys of the vehicles, and they looked more like Tron Ares than they did original, or not Tron Ares, the second movie that came out, Tron Legacy.
Legacy.
But nothing that I saw that was gearing up the new movie. No, and I was really upset that like this ride had opened at the time that it did, and I missed it because I had just seen the original again, when we talked about it.
Sure.
So I would have been primed, and I just wanted to see what kind of story they brought into the ride from the movie.
Sure.
But I never got the chance to do that.
Bummer.
We did go on Tiana's ride because I knew what to expect there, because I knew what the drop was and all that, so I wasn't that concerned about it.
So this was the Brer Rabbit. What they repurposed
to make it Princess and the Frog.
Okay.
And it's the same ride because they didn't change the track, so it's the same length. It's the same drops.
It's just rebranded.
They just changed all the animatronic displays to Princess and the Frog. So. Okay. Yeah, it was fine. I wasn't missing really because I'd been on Splash Mountain so many times. It was refreshing to see something new there. And the animatronics are state of the art, and they're beautiful.
Oh yeah, so they're probably spot on to the animation.
Yeah, it was.
Did she make you some gumbo when you got to the bottom? Some beignets?
They actually had beignets at a stand when you get off the ride, so we had to have beignets.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice hot beignets.
When you're in Nolans, you got to get some beignets.
Yeah. Epcot was having their Festival of the Arts. There's always some festival going on at Epcot, like at any point, whether it be the Flower Festival or the International Food Festival. This time it was the Festival of the Arts, and it was hosted by Figment, the dragon from Journey into Imagination.
Oh, very cool.
Figment stuff all over the place during this particular trip. But so I was unable to do Tron, unable to do Guardians. I did Tiana, and I also made it a point to go on Tower of Terror. So I've been on this many.
Hold on, that would be the one I'd stay away from.
Well, I've been on it before, so I knew
it has terror in its name.
It's got terror in its name, but I never really thought of it as a particularly turbulent ride.
You've done it right. It's not.
So it's more like the buildup is so much more than the actual ride. But I still was nervous when I got onto it. Like, what have I done to myself here?
No, you're building yourself up. Yeah. No.
I survived it, so here I am to tell the tale.
There you are. Very cool. Well, I hope that you take a deep breath next week, because this might be exciting.
Yeah.
Next episode.
We're going back to the MCU. Yes.
Captain America with a name change. Brave New World. No New World Order.
Hmm.
Got rid of that with Grumpy Hulk.
Yeah, Grumpy Hulk himself, Harrison Ford.
Yes, I'm excited for this. I know he's not. They literally in the trailer, Steve Rogers. I'm like, well, yeah, no, and I know people are complaining about it. And it's an evolution of the character.
And I am a fan of Anthony Mackie's take on Falcon. So I am really curious as to see how well this does. I think a lot's banking on this movie because Marvel, outside of your Guardians Volume 3 and some other sure hits, they've had some misses. They're not as indestructible as we'd like to think that they are.
No, and this is going back to the well because you are going right into the world of the Avengers. And I feel that this may be a little more Winter Soldier-ish in its level of espionage and a little more boots on the ground. We'll see. I think there's probably some surprises that they're hiding from us, which is I'm all in. Obviously, we just talked at the beginning of the episode that the new trailer kind of tips its hand a little bit on where they're going. We won't talk about it now. Obviously, next week when we do cover it, we do spoil it. So hopefully you can watch it before with us and then
and hopefully whoever makes Falcon's wings or whoever repairs them has given him an upgrade because it seems like his wings get damaged at the end of every single battle that he's in.
Sure, that's the only way you can take him out.
Yeah, so I would just like to see his wings survive.
It does look like he has an Ant-Man style helmet that may or may not be of Wakanda.
Okay.
Built, just like Peter, Star-Lord, he just clips the thing on his ear and all of a sudden the helmet just kind of manifests itself around so it doesn't look like he's taking it on and off. It looks more like it's built in.
Okay.
That's just my take. I could be completely wrong.
And along with it, we are going back to the 90s.
Yeah. The dawn of superhero movies and listen, Batman came first, but this is an unsung hero. This is a movie that probably should have got a lot more respect than it did.
The Rocketeer.
Yes, I'm very excited for this. Yeah. This is Dave Stevens, who created The Rocketeer. There's been a huge resurgence in his work. And I think a lot of it is due to the documentary that dropped. I talked about it in one of my What Else Did We Do? Probably about a year ago now, really showcasing this guy's genius and brilliant artwork. It's pretty solid.
It's on Disney Plus if anybody wants to watch it beforehand.
And
do you have the Blu-ray? Do you have it in your collection?
I do not.
Oh.
I do not, but I will be watching it on Disney Plus. This is a movie that I think may deserve a potential reboot because I think there's a lot of potential in this universe, but I don't know that. Maybe just leave this movie as is. It's pretty solid. Alan Arkin. I can't remember the girl.
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly. Yes.
There was a whole subgenre of superhero movies from the 90s that were neither DC nor Marvel. There was this one.
Phantom.
There was The Phantom. Billy Zane. The Shadow.
Yeah. Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Listen. A lot of stuff out there. Potential Sheena.
Sheena, what have you wrought?
Yes, that is one of my wife's favorite movies, by the way, so we can't crap on it too much.
We got to cover that. We got to give me an excuse to watch
We probably should at some point. Yes.
Yeah.
Just to watch that painted zebra. So there you go. Captain America, Brave New World, and The Rocketeer next episode.
Yes.
So
obvious, yes, but hey, you didn't think of it.
Whatever.
We did.
That's true. Did anybody say Dogman? Cujo. What else would you pair up with that? But of course, Cujo. Sometimes we're spot on. Sometimes we like to have fun. As always, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate it. If you feel the need, tell someone else to come listen. So that's it. Until next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand.
It's okay.